Welcome, dear children. My name is Shaheen, and I am going to be your English teacher on this YouTube platform of Winsome International School. Today, we are going to begin with Class 10th, First Flight book. And the name of the chapter is A Letter to God, which is your first chapter. So, let us begin without any delay. A Letter to God is written by G.L. Fuentes, okay? So, before reading any chapter, कोई भी chapter पढ़ने से पहले, it is very important that you must know about the author, or for instance, if you are reading the poetry part, you should know who the poet is, and of course, the origin of the poet or the author, right? So here, G.L. Fuentes, if we talk about him, he was a Mexican poet, journalist, and a novelist. All right? So, before beginning, I would like to tell you that we are going to read each and every line. That is, हम लोग एक thorough reading करने वाले हैं, so that we do not miss out on any word, any phrase, any paragraph. Right? Because when we talk about literature, it's very important कि हमें एक word का meaning पता होना चाहिए, हर एक phrase का meaning पता होना चाहिए, and whenever it is asked in question papers in your examination that in what reference this line has been written, so you should know the answer to it, right? The house, the only one in the entire valley. That means here the writer is talking about only one house. He is just trying to tell us कि पूरी valley में सिर्फ एक घर था वहाँ पे, all right, which was situated, sat on the crest of a low hill. Here sat means, though sat means to sit, but here sat means to, situated, all right? यहाँ पे sat का क्या meaning है? Situated. So that was situated on the crest of a low hill. What is the meaning of crest? Crest means highest peak, all right, on the peak. So we can say the meaning of crest is on the peak, on the top, peak or top. So the house, that was the only house in the entire valley. Where was it situated? It was situated on the top of a low hill. यानी कि वो जो घर था, जो सिर्फ एक था पूरी वैली के अंदर, वो एक छोटी सी हिल की सबसे ऊपर जो था, टॉप मोस्ट एरिया पे situated था. From this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with the flowers that were always promised a good harvest. Means जिस हाइट पे उनका घर situated था, उस हाइट से क्या-क्या देखा जा सकता था? The river could be seen, the field of ripe corn dotted with flowers that always promised a good harvest. All right? What do we mean by saying that promised a good harvest? How can we say कि वो promise करती थी? That means if we would look at that field, we could easily say that yes, this is going to give a good harvest. It was assuring us, it was very clear that this field would give a good harvest. So here, this is the meaning of promise. That always promised means that if we ever would look at it, it was pretty sure that the field would give a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. What was required now? There was only one thing that was missing, that was awaited. And what was that? A downpour or a shower. किस चीज का इंतजार हो रहा था? सिर्फ एक चीज थी. वो थी rain. All right? The meaning of downpour or a shower here means rain. So the only thing which was awaited was rain. Throughout the morning, Lencho. So here comes our protagonist. Here comes our major character of the story. Who was Lencho? Lencho's, the fields belong to Lencho. वो fields किसकी थी? Lencho की थी. तो throughout the morning, Lencho क्या कर रहा था? What was he doing? Who knew his fields intimately? What do we mean by intimately? Intimately means closely. Of course, every farmer knows his fields very properly, very closely. Similarly, यहाँ लेंचो भी अपनी कॉर्न फील्ड्स को बहुत क्लोजली जानते थे, because वो रात दिन वहीं पे रहते थे. Why? Because he was struggling hard. He was waiting for rain because he wanted his field of ripe corn to harvest as soon as possible. Had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. What was Lencho doing? जो फार्मर लेंचो थे, क्या कर रहे थे वो? पूरे दिन से सिर्फ वो एक चीज कर रहे थे, and that was he was looking towards the sky. बस वो पूरी सुबह से सिर्फ एक चीज कर रहे थे, that he was looking towards the sky. Why was he looking towards the sky? Because he was waiting for rainfall. And why was he waiting for rainfall? वो बारिश का इंतजार क्यों कर रहे थे? Because उस बारिश की वजह से उनकी जो कॉर्न फील्ड्स थी, इट वुड गिव अ गुड हार्वेस्ट. ऑलराइट, तो सारे जो ये इवेंट्स है, दे आर रिलेटेड टू ईच अदर. So you can see this field. This is how Lencho's cornfield looked like. Okay, so it was very clear that yes, ये फील्ड तो बहुत ही अच्छा कल्टीवेशन देने वाली है, और इस फील्ड से तो लेंचो को बहुत ही ज्यादा बेनिफिट होने वाला था. सो दैट इज व्हाई द ओनली थिंग दैट वाज रिक्वायर्ड वाज रेन. एंड उसी के इंतजार में लेंचो जो थे, सुबह से ही वाज लुकिंग टुवर्ड्स द स्काई. Now we are really going to get some water woman. Here Lencho is addressing his wife and talking to her. Okay, here who is the woman? She's the wife of Lencho. Okay, so Lencho is addressing his wife and talking to her. Now we are really going to get some water. Means he was showing that ab barish hone wali hai. All right, here he is expressing. He was pretty sure, looking at the sky, ki haan, barish hone wali hai. And this was the message that he conveyed to his wife as well. The woman who was preparing supper. What do we mean by supper? Supper means dinner. Okay? Supper means dinner. So what was his wife doing? She was preparing supper for the entire family. She was preparing dinner for the entire family. She replied, yes, God willing. What do we mean by God willing? जैसे हिंदी में हम कहते हैं, हाँ, अगर ईश्वर ने चाहा तो. Okay, so similarly, his wife replied, yes, God willing. Definitely, if God would want, he'll definitely provide us with rain. The older boys were working in the field, while the smaller ones were playing near the house, until the woman called them all. Right? Here, older boys and the smaller ones. Here, the author is talking about the sons. Okay? These are the sons of Lencho. So the older sons, they were working in the field, while the younger ones, they were playing. So now the woman called them all. Who was the woman? The wife of Lencho, their mother. She called them all. Come for dinner. It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. Now they were having their meal, they were having their dinner. Dinner करते करते ही, जैसे कि लेंचो ने प्रेडिक्ट किया था, जैसे कि लेंचो ने अज्यूम किया था कि बहुत अच्छी बारिश होने वाली है, तो वही हुआ. The same happened. जैसे वो जब वो अपना डिनर ले रहे थे, तभी क्या होना शुरू हुआ? Big drops of rain began to fall. यानी कि बारिश की बड़ी बड़ी बूंदें जो हैं वो गिरने लगी. That means the rain started. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. आप सभी ने देखा होगा कि जब बारिश होती है, बहुत तेज बारिश हो रही होती है, then if we look towards the sky, what happens? Big clouds, big black clouds, and they appear to be mountains. ठीक है? तो यहाँ पे huge mountains, यानी कि the clouds are compared with mountains. ठीक है? Clouds को किनसे compare किया है? Huge mountains से. Because वो ऐसे नजर आ रहे थे. They seem to be huge mountains. That is why the author has compared the clouds with huge mountains. The air was fresh and sweet. Such a great feeling it is whenever the rainfall occurs. What happened? We also feel now that yes, the smell is so good. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. And when he returned, he exclaimed, "These aren't just raindrops falling from the sky. They are the new coins." Means when it was raining outside, Lencho went outside so that he could feel rain on his body, right? So that he could feel good, he could enjoy rainfall. And after that, he came back and he said that these are not just the raindrops, but these are new coins. Very important. Why did he compare the raindrops with new coins? Can you think of it? उन्होंने raindrops को कॉइन्स के साथ में क्यों कंपेयर किया? क्योंकि उस बारिश की वजह से उनकी जो कॉर्न फील्ड्स थी वो एक अच्छा हार्वेस्ट होता वहां पे और उनको बेचने के बाद में लेंचो को बहुत बेनिफिट होने वाला था. He would get a good amount of money, right? That is why he compared those raindrops with coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are 5s. So he started comparing the big drops. Big drops for him were 10-cent pieces and the little drops, they were 5s. Okay, 5-cent pieces. What is cent? What is cent? Cent is a currency. Okay. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers, draped in a curtain of rain. So now he was very satisfied. There was an expression of contentment on his face. यानी कि लेंचो बहुत satisfied हो गए कि अब बारिश आ गई है, जिस चीज का उनको इंतजार था वही हुआ और अब he could see कि हाँ अब मुझे बहुत अच्छा बेनिफिट होने वाला है, मेरी फैमिली जो है वो सर्वाइव कर पाएगी पूरे ईयर. और यही एक फार्मर का सबसे बड़ा कंटेंटमेंट होता है कि जब उनकी क्रॉप्स प्रॉपर वे में कल्टिवेट हो जाती है, हार्वेस्ट हो जाती है और जब वो उनको बेच के जो पैसा आता है वो उनकी पूरे साल की मेहनत होती है, राइट? So similarly, Lencho too was satisfied. He was very happy and this rainfall could it could completely change his life. So he could see the field of ripe corn, it was draped in a curtain of rain. If you're going to look at the language, it is so beautifully depicted. Each and every expression is depicted so beautifully. The choice of words is so wise and so witty. यानी हर एक expression को इतनी अच्छी तरह से express किया गया है कि the field of ripe corn, जो खेत था, उनका जो field थी, it was draped in a curtain of रेन. यानी कि इफ यू हैव सीन, जब बारिश होती है हर चीज एक कवर, ऐसा लगता है इस पे एक कवर आ गया है, राइट? सो सिमिलरली जब वो अपने घर से कॉर्न फील्ड को देख रहे थे तो वो पूरा ड्रेप्ड नजर आ रहा था, यानी कि कवर्ड नजर आ रहा था कर्टेन के अंदर. ओके, सो इट वॉज ड्रेप्ड इन अ कर्टेन ऑफ रेन. यहां पे क्या बोल दिया है? कर्टेन ऑफ रेन, जो एक बीच में लेयर बन जाती है रेन की, बारिश की, और लेंचो और कॉर्नफील्ड के बीच में जो एक ड्रेप जो कवर बन गया था, उन्होंने जीएल फ्यूएंटेस ने उसको किससे कंपेयर किया है? उसको कंपेयर किया है कर्टेन से. इट वाज लुकिंग एज इफ देयर इज अ कर्टेन. बट सडनली नाउ हियर वी आर गोइंग टू गेट अ ट्विस्ट इन द स्टोरी. एंड व्हाट्स द ट्विस्ट? A strong wind began to blow. All right. अभी तक बहुत ही pleasant rainfall हो रही थी, बहुत अच्छी बारिश हो रही थी, which everyone was enjoying. लेकिन suddenly what happened? Strong wind began to blow. All right. बारिश जो थी अब धीरे धीरे तेज होती जा रही थी और एक बहुत तेज जो थी हवा चलने लग गई. With the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. The worst part was not only the wind began to blow, but also very large hailstones began to fall. What are hailstones? If you have seen, I am sure everyone have seen, सबने देखा होगा, everyone has seen, सबने देखा है कि जो बर्फ पड़ती है, बर्फ की जो they look like stones, ice stones they look like. So अब बारिश की जगह किसने ले ली थी? What took place instead of rainfall? Hailstones, which is not at all good for any field, for any crop. These truly did resemble new silver coins. Again, he had made a comparison here that the hailstones, they resemble new silver coins. Okay, कैसे लग रहे थे? Silver coins जैसे लग रहे थे वो hailstone. They appear to be silver coins. The boys, again, who are the boys? They are the children of Lencho. Exposing themselves to rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. Again, a beautiful comparison. The hailstones, they are compared with the frozen pearls. It's really getting bad now. So for children, it was a game. You can see the difference of, the people, the perception of people towards one single thing. They have different perceptions. यानी कि किसी भी एक चीज के लिए दो लोगों के दो अलग अलग नजरिए हो सकते हैं. How? वो hailstones जो थे, लेंचो के लिए it was not good. लेकिन if we talk about the children, it was absolutely a contradictory part. उनके लिए it was a game. They were enjoying it. They started collecting the frozen pearls. Okay, what are the frozen pearls? Again, I'm telling you, hailstones. ठीक है, frozen pearls किसको कहा गया है? Hailstones को कहा गया है. तो जहां बच्चों के लिए वो एक गेम है, लेंचो के लिए it is not a good news. It's really getting bad now, exclaimed the man. Here, man is Lencho. I hope it passes quickly. He didn't want hailstones to fall continuously and he wanted it to pass quickly. वो चाहते थे कि hailstone जल्दी खत्म हो जाए. Otherwise, he knew what could happen. It did not pass quickly. लेकिन जैसा लेंचो ने होप किया था ऐसा हुआ नहीं. Hailstones जल्दी से नहीं पास हुए. For an hour, the hail rained on the house. Okay, यानी कि सिर्फ थोड़ी देर के लिए नहीं, not only for a few minutes, but constantly for an hour. एक घंटे कम continuous जो थी, hail, it started falling on the entire valley. On the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield. Very important. House पे होता चल जाता, garden में हो रहा था कोई problem नहीं थी, hillside accepted, but the cornfield, it was, Lencho couldn't afford this cornfield to be destroyed, right? On the whole valley means the hail, it rained on the entire valley. It did not leave even a single leaf. The field was white, as if covered with salt. You'll see there are so many comparisons given in this chapter, right? The field, it was completely covered with white. Why it was white? White क्यों थी वो? क्योंकि बर्फ गिरी थी, isn't it? And जब बर्फ गिरेगी तो सारी जगह क्या हो जाएगी? पूरी white हो जाएगी. और कैसा लग रहा था वो पूरा साइड कैसा लग रहा था? ऐसा लग रहा था as if it is covered with salt. जैसे उसे किसी ने नमक से, salt से cover किया है. Not a leaf remained on the trees means the trees were completely destroyed. पेड़ों पे एक leaf भी नहीं बची थी. So you can imagine the destruction caused by hail. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. Means Lencho was not at all happy. His soul was filled with sadness. Lencho बहुत disappoint हो गए, बहुत दुखी हो गए. Why? Because उनके पास सिर्फ एक hope थी कि rainfall होगा and उनका जो complete cornfield है वो उससे वो एक अच्छा benefit उनको मिल सकता है, अच्छा amount मिल पाएगा जिससे वो उनकी family survive कर पाएगी for the entire year. लेकिन what happened? Completely opposite to what Lencho thought. Right? He was thinking for a good rainfall, but instead what happened? The hail occurred, right? He was thinking for a good field. Instead what happened? It was completely destroyed by the hail. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons. Means when everything was over, there was no rain, there was no hail, everything was finished, then he just stood in the center and he talked to his sons. A plague of locusts would have left more than this. What is plague of locust? Locusts are actually the insects, okay, which destroys or which eats the fields, and that insect, it completely destroys it. So a group of locusts are the insects. सो लेंचो ने कहा कि अगर यहाँ पे लोकस्ट होते, अगर वो इंसेक्ट होते, अगर वो भी यहाँ पे आके फील्ड में मेरी फील्ड खा जाते, मेरी कॉर्न खा जाते, तो कुछ छोड़ के जाते, एटलीस्ट कुछ बचा के जाते. लेकिन यहाँ पे हेल जब आई, जब ओले पड़े, when hail stones began to fall, nothing was left. कुछ भी नहीं बचा. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn. So Lencho made his statement very clear to his family. उन्होंने बहुत clearly अपनी family को ये message convey कर दिया कि इस साल अब हमारे पास कोई corn नहीं होगी. Because as you all know, there is a season for every corn, right? हर बीज को सो करने का एक सीजन होता है. सो एक पर्टिकुलर सीजन में ही आप वो चीज कर सकते हो, उसके बाद नहीं कर सकते. सो यहाँ पे लेंचो वही चीज क्लियर कर रहे हैं कि अब इस साल वी विल हैव नो कॉर्न. Indirectly, he wanted to say that they would be going hungry that year. That night was a sorrowful one. That is very obvious, you know. जब हम लोग किसी चीज की एक्सपेक्टेशन रखते हैं कि ये चीज होगी, उसके कॉन्ट्ररी कोई चीज हो जाए, यानी हम लोग चाहते हैं वो चीज हो जाए बट वो डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाए, सो कैसा फील होता है? The same feeling Lencho and his entire family also had. All our work for nothing. What is the meaning of all our work for nothing? It means कि उन्होंने जो मेहनत की थी उसका कोई रिजल्ट उन्हें नहीं मिला. They say no that hard work always bear a sweet fruit, but यहाँ पे उनको उनके हार्ड वर्क के लिए कुछ भी नहीं मिला. There's no one who can help us. We'll all go hungry this year. Because he was a farmer and that was the only house in the entire valley. There was no one who could help them. कोई नहीं था जो लेंचो और उसकी फैमिली की हेल्प कर सकता था. And they were very sure that उस साल वो सब लोग, उनके पास सर्वाइव करने के लिए कुछ भी नहीं है, and they would go hungry that year. So that's all for part 1, and here we have a few questions. All right, these are in-text questions, so let us quickly discuss these. I hope whatever was taught to you so far, जो भी अब तक आपको पढ़ाया है, it was very clear to you. So let us go through these questions quickly and discuss them. What did Lencho hope for? Oh, such an easy question. So you all know the answer? Yes, Lencho hoped for a good rainfall. Okay, what did he hope for? He hoped for a good rainfall, right? I'll just make this clear, otherwise you would be confused, right? A good rainfall. Why did Lencho say the raindrops were like new coins? We discussed this also. क्यों उन्होंने compare किया drops को coins के साथ में? Because उन raindrops की वजह से, उस बारिश की वजह से, his crops would be cultivated. उनका एक अच्छा harvest होगा. He would get a good harvest out of it, and by selling it, he would get a good amount, right? And उस amount से क्या होगा? He would be able to feed his family. That is why he compared the raindrops to new coins. How did the rain change? कैसे change हो गई rain? Of course, you know the answer to this also. The rain changed to hailstones. Okay? किसमें change हो गई थी? It changed to hailstones. What happened to Lencho's fields? क्या हुआ Lencho की fields का? Were they in a good condition? No. So you know it. Lencho's fields were completely destroyed. These are in-text questions. So इनके answers भी काफी brief होते हैं. All right? Were completely destroyed. What were Lencho's feelings when the hail stopped? जब हेल खत्म हो गई, then what were the feelings that were going on in Lencho's mind? Was he happy? Was he sad? Yes, हमने एक लाइन पढ़ी थी बीच में, Lencho's soul was filled with sadness, filled with sorrow. हमने ये पढ़ा था ना, Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. So yes, he was disappointed, he was very sad. So what you can write? Lencho felt shattered. What is the meaning of shattered? यानी कि completely disappoint, जब कोई hope नहीं रहती. That is the meaning of shattered. So वो पूरी तरह से बिखर गए थे. Lencho felt shattered and he was very upset. All right, now we are going to continue from where we left. Kindly pay attention to each and every line, to each and every word that we are going to go through. But in the hearts of all those who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope, and that was help from God. That means the family who was residing in that solitary house. What do we mean by the solitary house? It means lonely, okay? And we read this in the very beginning of the chapter that Lencho's house was the only one in the entire valley. Lencho का घर सिर्फ एक ही घर था पूरी valley के अंदर, वहाँ पे और कोई भी नहीं रहता था. That is why the author has written, in the hearts of all those who lived in that solitary house. Means there was only one single hope. What was that hope? किससे थी वो hope उनको? क्या थी वो होप? क्या उनको अपने किसी रिलेटिव से होप थी कि वो हेल्प करेगा? क्या उसको किसी अपनी फ्रेंड से होप थी कि वो आके हेल्प करेगा? No, it was the help from God. That is why it is mentioned single hope. Single hope. They could see only one way from where they could get help. And what was that source? What was that way? It was help from God. So here in this chapter, we are going to get many examples which are going to display the firm faith of Lencho in God. Okay, what does this show? It shows the firm faith of Lencho. Okay, and throughout the chapter, you are going to witness so many examples where you will find that yes, this man has an unshakable faith in God. Don't be so upset, even though this seems like a total loss. So they were discussing among themselves, all the family members, they were discussing among themselves, that's all right. Even though we can see that, yes, it's completely a loss, nothing is left now, we have one hope left. Again, they are talking about the help from God. Remember, no one dies of hunger. That's what they say. No one dies of hunger. So this is a source of motivation that each and every family member is motivating each other. सब लोग एक दूसरे को हिम्मत बंधा रहे थे कि कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. हालांकि हमें लग रहा है कि इट्स अ कंप्लीट लॉस, ये टोटल लॉस है हमारे लिए, क्योंकि कॉर्नफील्ड हमारा एक सोर्स था सर्वाइवल का, वो पूरी तरह से डिस्ट्रॉय हो चुका है. Still we can see there is one way, because as they say, as we say in Hindi, कहते हैं ना, या कहावत है. So similarly in English, when we are going to quote any phrase, any idiom, what do we say? We say, that's what they say. No one dies of hunger. कोई भी भूख से नहीं मरता. Why? Why are they saying this? Again, they are showing that God helps everyone. Okay? God makes sure that no one dies of hunger. All through the night, Lencho thought only of his one hope. Means throughout the night, he was not able to sleep. He was feeling very restless, and he was thinking of only one help, one hope, and that was from God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. Means as Lencho has been instructed from his childhood, Lencho को बचपन से ही सिखाया गया था that God whose eyes can see everything, even what is hidden in one's deep conscience. What is conscience? Conscience is the inner sense. It is the inner sense of right and wrong. Means these are the deep thoughts that we can see, that we can feel that yes, this is right. हो सकता है ये गलत हो. Means अंदर से जब हमें कोई आवाज आती है, inner soul से जो आवाज आती है, that is known as conscience. So similarly, Lencho was instructed since his childhood, उनको बचपन से ही यही सिखाया गया था that God can see everything. God knows everything. So that was the belief that he had, that yes, God knows that right now I am suffering. God knows that my cornfields are completely demolished. So definitely he is going to help me. Lencho was an ox of a man. As you know, in the last session also we discussed that G.L. Fuentes, who is the author of this chapter, he has beautifully given examples. He has selected the language so wisely that you are going to see that here he was an ox of a man. What is the meaning? That here the author has compared Lencho to an ox. Means he was as hardworking as an ox is in the fields. Like, why do we use oxen in our fields? So that they can plow fields. Okay, so here Lencho is also compared to an ox, that he was as hardworking as an ox is. Working like an animal in the fields. You can see like an animal here. What literary device has been used here? It is simile, because you can see the use of like here. So he was working like an animal in the fields, means he was working hard. He was struggling hard in his field so that he could get good results. But still he knew how to write. Means the author wants to say that though he was a farmer, he knew how to write. चाहे वो एक किसान थे, चाहे वो एक फार्मर थे, वो पढ़ना लिखना जानते थे, उन्हें पता था, because he was a little literate, he knew how to write. तो अभी किस रेफरेंस में हमें ये बात बोलना चाह रहे हैं? Why is author telling us this, that he knew how to write? Let us see. The following Sunday, at daybreak, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. Means throughout the night, Lencho was thinking that now, since I am left with no hope, अब मेरे पास कोई help का रास्ता बचा नहीं है, so what am I going to do? I'm going to write a letter and I'll carry it myself to the town and I'm going to mail it. I'm going to drop it in the mailbox myself and I'm going to write this letter. So what was that letter? Whom was he writing this letter to? It was nothing less than a letter to God. That means he was writing this letter to God. So again, this is an example of his firm faith in God. Now, why did he want to start this correspondence with God? Why did he want to write this letter to God? And was this practical? Was this possible on practical grounds if we see? Let us check what happened afterwards. Did he get any help from God? Or because his faith was unshakable. So it was very important कि उनकी faith जो थी वो वैसी ही रहे, वो firm ही रहे. तो क्या हुआ उन्हें? क्या God से help मिली? और अगर नहीं मिली तो क्या हुआ? और मिली तो कैसे मिली? Let's check it out. God, he wrote. Now he is just writing the letter. God, he wrote. So this is the address. He is addressing God. Just say we write in the beginning, dear so and so. Similarly, he's also addressing in the beginning of the letter God. If you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes, because the hailstorm ... So here, what is pesos? Pesos is actually a currency. It is a currency used in Latin American countries. Not all, but many, okay? In Latin American countries. Just like we have rupees here, dollar in the US. Similarly, pesos is the currency which is used in many of the Latin American countries. So what did he write in the letter? He could expect, he could demand as much money as he wanted, but how much money, how much amount is he asking? He's only asking for 100 pesos. And why did he want these 100 pesos? So that he could sow his fields again and he could live until the crop comes. So he's only demanding the money in which he could survive and he could use that amount of money to sow his fields. That's it. So you can see he was not a greedy man. He was a man of contentment. Means he knew how to stay happy with what he had. Means jitna hai usi mein khush rehna janta tha Lencho. Okay, that is why he only demanded for 100 pesos in his letter that he was addressing to God, and he was ready to send that letter to God. And what medium did he choose? कौन सा medium choose किया उन्होंने God को letter send करने का? It was a post office, because he thought that he would mail that letter. Means he would drop the letter into the mailbox, and so that the post office employees could forward that letter to God. So here we can also see that he was an innocent man. Though he knew how to read and write, the innocence was there. He was an honest man. He wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside, still troubled, went to town. So now he just completed his letter on the envelope he wrote to God. If you have written letters, you must be knowing that when we are placing our letters inside the envelopes, what do we write on top of the envelope? The address to whom we are sending, right? Receiver's address. So here, who is going to be the receiver? God. That is why, what did he write on the envelope? To God. उन्होंने envelope पे किसका address लिखा? God का address लिखा, और address कोई precise address तो था नहीं, so इसीलिए simply उन्होंने क्या लिख दिया उस पे? To God, that God is one, तो definitely वो उन्हीं के पास जाएगा. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. So when he reached the post office, he completed all the formalities that are supposed to be done while sending a letter. उन्होंने वो सारी formalities complete की, envelope पे stamp भी affix किया और उसको mailbox में drop कर दिया. One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped at the post office, went to his boss, laughing heartily, and showed him the letter to God. Now, what is the work of postmen? What do? They just take out all the letters from the mailbox and they segregate the letters according to the addresses. So when Lencho dropped the letter into the mailbox, he took the postman, he took out the letter and he saw the address. Okay, and he was shocked by looking at the address because it was a very weird one. He had never seen such an address in his entire life. उन्होंने वो address, किसने? Postman ने वो address कभी अपनी लाइफ में पहले नहीं देखा था कि किसी ने गॉड को लेटर लिखा हो. तो उनके लिए वो बहुत ही स्ट्रेंज चीज थी, बड़ी वियर्ड सी बात थी. सो ही स्टार्टेड लाफिंग. ही टुक दैट लेटर टू द पोस्टमास्टर. Who is the postmaster? He is the authority of the post office who looks after the entire work of post office. Or we can say he's the head of a post office. All right. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. The postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow, also broke out laughing. So now they are describing the appearance of the postmaster. How did he look like? He was a fat, amiable fellow. What do we mean by amiable? It means friendly. Okay? So the postmaster was a friendly fellow. He was a nice fellow. So that is why the postman could share that letter with him, and he showed him the letter that, see, we have a letter on which the address is to God. So the postmaster also accompanied him and he also joined him when he was laughing. But almost immediately he turned serious. Who turned serious? The postmaster. and tapping the letter on his desk, commented. Means earlier he was laughing with the postman, but immediately he turned out serious. What faith! Means he complimented the faith of Lencho. Okay, he was saying that what faith, क्या faith है यहाँ पे इस इंसान की. So here he is complimenting. Okay, it is a compliment. I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter. So the postmaster also expressed his wish that he wished he could also have that faith, that firm faith in God, itni strong faith that he wanted to start a correspondence with him, okay? Because it's very hard to find such people around us who have such firm faith in them. Starting up a correspondence with God. What do we mean by correspondence? It is an exchange of communication, okay? So he wanted to start a communication through letters. Communication through letters. So in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with an idea. Answer the letter. Now, postmaster thought of a plan that I don't want to break, to shake the faith of this man in God. Postmaster नहीं चाहते थे कि लेंचो जैसे आदमी की faith टूटे, break हो. इसलिए what did he decide? क्या decide किया उन्होंने? What plan did he come up with? It was answer the letter. The postmaster decided that on behalf of God, he is going to answer this letter to Lencho. Because it is very clear that no one can send a letter to God, neither could God reciprocate to us, right? So इसीलिए the postmaster decided that on behalf of God, he is going to write the reply back to Lencho. But when he opened it, it was evident that to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill, ink, and paper. But when the postmaster opened the letter, read it, he found out that only or merely goodwill, ink, and paper is not going to help him. He needed more than that. What was that? So the postmaster knew that he wanted something more than his good intentions, ink and paper, because merely sending a reply would not help Lencho. But he stuck to his resolution. What do we mean by resolution? It means a strong decision. Okay? A strong decision means a firm decision that no one, one is adamant to follow. क्या बोलेंगे हिंदी में इसको? दृढ़ निश्चय. बस सोच लिया तो करना है. बस the similar intention the postmaster also had, that he is going to help Lencho no matter what he has to do for it. He asked for money from his employees. He himself gave part of his salary, and several friends of his were obliged to give something for an act of charity. So how did they contribute the money? कैसे उन्होंने पैसे collect किए 100 pesos के? The postmaster asked his employees that if they wanted, they could contribute a little amount. उन्होंने खुद ने अपनी salary में से पैसे contribute किए, and also he asked his friends as well that if they wanted, they could also donate a little amount of money, as they were doing an act of charity to help a poor farmer. Why did the postmaster want to help Lencho? क्यों चाहते थे? Because उन्होंने ऐसी firm faith आज तक किसी इंसान की नहीं देखी थी, और उस faith को alive रखने के लिए he was putting all these efforts. It was impossible for him to gather together the 100 pesos. Means it was not possible for the postmaster and his team कि वो एक साथ इतने 100 pesos collect कर पाएं. Okay? Gather means to collect. क्या होता है gather का मतलब? To collect, इकट्ठा करना. तो उनके लिए एक साथ ये possible नहीं था कि वो 100 pesos का collection करे. So he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. How much money were they able to collect? A little more than half. What is, how much is half? 50 pesos. और 50 pesos से थोड़ा ऊपर का अमाउंट उनके पास कलेक्ट हो पाया जो उन्होंने लेंचो को भेजने का सोचा. That they thought that they would be able to send to Lencho. He put the money in an envelope addressed to Lencho, and with it a letter containing only a single word as a signature, God. That means the postmaster, he put the money that was collected, which was a little more than half, he put that money in an envelope, उस पे किसको एड्रेस किया? लेंचो को एड्रेस किया, और उसके साथ में एक लेटर भी भेजा. ठीक है, किसके साथ? उस एनवेलप के साथ एक लेटर भेजा. उस लेटर पे सिर्फ एक सिंगल वर्ड मेंशन था. ओनली वन सिंगल वर्ड वाज देयर. व्हाट वाज दैट? अ सिग्नेचर, गॉड. ओके, so there was a letter so that they could make Lencho believe that yes, the letter is sent from the money, the help was sent from God. So he just signed God and sent that letter and envelope to Lencho. How? They dropped that in the mailbox, or they kept it with themselves. What happened next? Okay, before that, let's go through some question and answers which are in text question and answers, and they are going to help you to remember, to memorize whatever we have studied so far. Okay, so are you ready? Who or what did Lencho have faith in? It's very clear. Lencho had faith in God. What did he do to show his faith? He wrote a letter to God. Okay, so you can write here that Lencho had, oh sorry, I'll write it here, just a minute. Lencho had faith in God. Kindly ignore my handwriting, it's not that good. All right, so here, what did Lencho have? Here, Lencho have is written because we are using did as helping verb. That is why we have written. All right. Otherwise, if you're writing the answer, what will come? Lencho had faith in God. Who read the letter? You know the answer to this as well. The postmaster. Okay. The postmaster read the letter. What did the postmaster do then? क्या किया postmaster ने उसके बाद में? So we know the answer also. He decided to help Lencho by collecting money from his employees, his friends, and he himself gave a part of his salary. So this is how the postmaster tried to help Lencho. Okay? The following Sunday, Lencho came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him. Again, an example you can see. This is one more example you can see. The following Sunday, Lencho, a week ago, he had dropped that letter, and the following Sunday, he knew that God could have replied him. God would have sent a reply. God would have sent him money. So he was very quick in coming back on the following Sunday. He came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him. So he went to the post office and he asked them, the employees who were sitting there, if there was any letter for him. It was the postman himself. Which postman? The same postman who had taken the letter in the first instance. So it was the postman himself who handed the letter to him, while the postmaster, experiencing the contentment of a man who has performed a good deed, looked on from his office. So you must have felt कि आपने कुछ अच्छा किया है, किसी की हेल्प करी है, तो क्या होता है, हमें अंदर से एक इनर रिलीफ मिलता है, हमें बहुत कंटेंटेड फील होता है, सेटिस्फाइड फील होता है कि हमने कुछ अच्छा किया. दैट वी कुड ब्रिंग अ स्माइल ऑन समवन्स फेस, कि हमारी वजह से किसी की हेल्प हो पाई. सो सिमिलरली द पोस्ट मास्टर, he was from his office window looking at Lencho receiving the letter from the postman. Postmaster अपनी ऑफिस विंडो से ही लेंचो को लेटर रिसीव करते हुए देख रहे थे. All right? What is the meaning of contentment? It means satisfaction. Okay? The postmaster was satisfied that he could help Lencho, and he also helped not letting the faith of Lencho to shatter. ठीक है? So he knew that he had done something good, इसलिए उनको बहुत अच्छा फील हो रहा था, and he knew, he was sure कि ये लेटर लेके Lencho will be very happy, क्योंकि उसकी हेल्प भी हो गई है, मॉनेटरी हेल्प भी हो गई है, और उसकी जो फेथ है वो भी ब्रेक नहीं हुई. Lencho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. Such was his confidence. One more example you can see, not the slightest surprise. He was not at all surprised. जब उसने वो amount receive किया, जो कि assume किया लेंचो ने कि ये God की तरफ से आया है, God has helped him and God has sent him the money. बिल्कुल भी no surprise at all on his face. He took it as casually as if a man has sent the reply, or a man has sent him some money. So no surprise at all. Such was the faith. Such was his confidence. But he became angry. Very interesting. He became angry when he counted the money. Because how much amount did he ask for? He asked for 100 pesos. And we read about it that the postmaster and his team could not gather that much amount of money. They could only gather a little more than half. So when Lencho counted the money, he became angry. Why? Because 100 pesos were not available. The amount was less than 100 pesos. God could not have made a mistake. Again, an example. He was sure that God couldn't make a mistake in counting. God कभी mistake नहीं कर सकते पैसे count करने में. Nor could he have denied Lencho what he had requested. एक क्वेश्चन ये क्रिएट हो रहा था लेंचो के दिमाग में कि ना तो गॉड से गलती हो सकती है काउंट करने में, और ना ही गॉड उसकी रिक्वेस्ट डिनाई कर सकते हैं जो उसने रिक्वेस्ट किया है. सो ही वॉज वेरी श्योर दैट समथिंग मिस्चीवियस हैज हैपेंड इन बिटवीन, एंड इसीलिए लेंचो बिकेम एंग्री. Immediately, when he counted the money, after that, immediately, Lencho went up to the window to ask for paper and ink. On the public writing table, he started to write with much wrinkling of his brow. What is a wrinkling? It's a crease, okay? Okay, line of crease you can say. You know, when we are thinking something, so you can see the wrinkles are there on the face, the crease is there on the face when we are thinking deeply something and we are writing something. So the crease is there on the face, the crease appear on the face. Similarly, when Lencho was writing the letter, he also had that wrinkling on his face, on his brows, caused by the effort he had to make to express his ideas. Because he wanted to express his ideas, he was writing another letter. When he finished, he went to the window to buy a stamp, which he licked. Means he just licked the stamp in order to paste that, in order to affix that, and then affixed to the envelope with a blow of his fist. What is affixed? Affixed means to paste. Okay, and how did he affix that? He just lick it. Okay, he just touched his tongue to that. All right, just put some saliva on the stamp and he affixed that stamp on the envelope. How did he do that? By the blow of his fist. Okay, fist ऐसे बना के and then just paste it like this. The moment the letter fell into the mailbox, the postmaster went to open it. Now the postmaster was more curious that what he would have written in that letter. अब इस लेटर में क्या लिखा होगा? So he was very curious. So जैसे ही वो लेटर ड्रॉप किया लेंचो ने, he just quickly went to take the letter. It said, and when he opened the letter, when the postmaster opened the letter, what was written in it? God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. So you can say it was a complaint letter. He had made a complaint. Who? Lencho had made a complaint that God, the amount that I asked you for, which was 100 pesos, I only received 70 pesos. मुझ तक कितने पहुंचे हैं? 70 pesos ही पहुंचे हैं. Send me the rest, since I need it very much. But don't send it to me through the mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. And in the end, he wrote Lencho. So he said, God, please send me the rest of the money. I need it. मुझे उन पैसों की बहुत जरूरत है. Remaining money जल्दी send कीजिए. But एक कंडीशन रख दी लेंचो ने लेटर के अंदर, but don't send me the money through mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. What is the meaning of crooks? Means dishonest people. Okay? Dishonest people, or we can also call criminals. So what is Lencho assuming? That the money God had sent him 100 pesos, उन pesos में से 30 pesos जो है वो post office employees ने बीच में ही रख लिए. These people would have taken the rest of the money, 30 pesos. That is why only 70 pesos were remaining in the envelope. He was completely ignorant of the fact that this money was actually given to him by the post office employees themselves. But he was not aware of it. Neither the people who gave that as a charity, they also didn't want him to realize that the help has not reached from God, but from these people only. So here it is an irony which is used. The situation, how is it? It is an ironical situation, you can see. कि जिन्होंने हेल्प की उन्हीं के ऊपर ये एक्यूजेशंस लग गए कि उन्होंने पैसे चोरी कर लिए बीच के अंदर. इसीलिए लेंचो ने नेक्स्ट लेटर में क्या लिखा कि काइंडली डोंट सेंड मी द रिमेनिंग मनी थ्रू मेल, बिकॉज दीज पीपल आर डिसऑनेस्ट, दीज पीपल आर क्रिमिनल्स, दीज पीपल आर थीव्स हु टुक द मनी इन बिटवीन एंड मुझ तक पूरी हेल्प नहीं पहुंच पाई. एंड इन द एंड व्हाट डिड ही राइट? लेंचो. और अगेन उन्होंने ये लेटर कहां ड्रॉप कर दिया? मेल बॉक्स में ड्रॉप कर दिया. Okay, so you can see this was the faith of this man Lencho, जो throughout chapter हमने witness किया है कि कहीं पे भी he did not show the slightest doubt कि God शायद कर पाएंगे या नहीं कर पाएंगे. इसीलिए when he received the letter also from the God, he was very confident कि yes, God का letter आ ही गया होगा, God ने help भेजी दी होगी. और जब पैसे कम मिले, when the amount was not that he requested, that he demanded for, again question फिर भी God के ऊपर नहीं लगा. What did he thought of? What did he think of? He thought कि God ना तो पैसे काउंट करने में मिस्टेक कर सकते हैं और ना ही उसकी रिक्वेस्ट डिनाई कर सकते हैं. That means these people, they have done something wrong. They would have done something mischievous and उन्होंने ही बीच में पैसे ले लिए होंगे. So you have seen in this chapter that the farmer, who was an innocent man, but he was an honest man. All right, he knew how to read and write. So how did he use that? He used that in writing a letter to God, and he started a correspondence with God in order to show that how firm his faith was in God. कि God में उनकी जो faith थी वो कितनी ज़्यादा strong थी, कितनी ज़्यादा unshakable थी. Right? Let us discuss a few more in-text questions. Was Lencho surprised to find a letter for him with money in it? Not at all. We have read it that not a slightest surprise. He was not at all surprised at all. So you can write, no, Lencho was not surprised to find a letter in it. Okay? No, he was not surprised. What made him angry? Why was Lencho angry when he opened the letter, when he counted the money? Why was he angry? So he was angry because when he counted the money, he received only 70 pesos out of 100 pesos that he had requested from God. All right. So I hope the other questions it will be easier for you to solve them, because we have discussed each and everything from the chapter. Each and every line we have covered, each and every phrase and word we have covered. I hope I could clear all your doubts. I hope I could make an approach to make your learning interesting and informative at the same time. So stay tuned and keep waiting for our next videos. Take care. Goodbye.